Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This is going to be my January TBR, which it is so insane that I am filming this. Literally when I was planning out my TBR, I literally wrote at the top of the Google document December TBR because it feels like it shouldn't be January, like literally in less than a week as I'm filming this on the 26th. So essentially, this is my January TBR. I use my Bookopoly board to do rolls, and they correspond with the books. So there's going to be a couple little differences in 2022 than there was in 2021. The one time that I use this board is essentially I'm going to start off with 6 picks every single month. But then I will roll 1 dice, which I should have grabbed, but one dice, and then that, whatever number shows up, will be, you add that to 6, and that's the number of books I get. So if I roll a 6, that's 12. If I roll a 1, that's 7. And for the rolls, if I get 2, like if I get a double, meaning that the 2 dice are the same numbers, like let's say a 3 and a 3, you add a roll. So that could be, I could end up with a lot. Also, for every book I don't complete out of the TBR for the month before, I add. So if I minus, if it's just 1. If there's 1 uncompleted book, it's nothing. If there's 2 uncompleted books, it's 1 extra roll. If there's 3 uncompleted books, it's 2 extra rolls. So I'll be doing that as like a reason to read every single book on my TBR. Even though most of the times I'm able to, but that's been when I typically only have maybe 10 books on my TBR, but who knows, I could end up with 15, 20 books on my TBR because I have more than just my TBR game sometimes. So I will roll the clip of me showing you around the board and then the clip, and then pop in, talk about the book and all of that. And if I look down here, it's because I have the prompts in which order and what book I'm reading for the prompts as well. So here's the board. It's currently on a blanket because my floor is a ugly orange that looks like it's constantly dirty, even though you vacuumed it 5 minutes ago. So we're gonna move on. I will do a little tour of the board here. There's my hand. So yeah, there's also the community shelf cards and the chants, which I'll explain those if I get them. So essentially on this side we have Go, which is randomizer TBR. The rounds are small book and lowest rated. There's a community shelf in between. A TBR Vat, which is a book that's been on my TBR for over a year. A Railway, which I will explain after. Then we have genres, which are fantasy, contemporary, or romance, and then other genres, meaning anything not contemporary, romance, or fantasy with a chance in between. And then we have TBR game, which essentially if I land on, I will play somebody else's TBR game to pick my book. Then we will rotate it. Then we have formats. So we have physical, ebook, audiobook with a mood read in between, another railroad, and then things to do a series. So start a new series, standalone, or continue a series. With a community shelf in between, 5-star prediction, a book that I think is a 5-star prediction. Then we have, I don't know what to call this, but we have LGBTQ plus rep, POC rep, and then disability plus mental health rep with a chance in between, another railroad, and then like types of people, so monsters, gods, and humans, a poll pick in between, which I would put a poll up on social media and let that pick a book, feed scroll, which would be essentially I'd scroll on a social media until there is a book that I own or I want to read. Then we have that rolling. Then we have like, again, I don't know what to call this, but Who, which is essentially like a unknown author, so it could be like an underrated author or an author I haven't heard of until recently. Hyped, a hype book, and then New, a new to me author, meaning that I've never read anything by them before. Then we have a community shelf in between, a chance. And then the blues are highest rated and big book with a most recent purchased in between. And the railroads are like things. So essentially like girl, boy, people, person would be let's say there's a book that's like The King something, or something like that, and then kind of around as they follow the theme. A lot of this was copied from Becca and the Books, like Bookopothon 2021, sorry. Why am I forgetting what year I'm currently in, as this is filmed in 2021? So, as I explained before, the base number is going to be 6. Also, that needs to stay on there. The base number will be 6. I will roll a dice. So I will roll this dice here. Whatever number it lands on, I will add to 6 to pick my TBR. I would just roll 2 dice, but I don't want to get like 2 books type thing. So, okay, so we're doing 7 because it landed on a 1. And the board curves because of the way it's stored. So, roll number 1 is 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, a chance. So a chance is 6 books I'm excited to read and 6 books I'm not as excited to read. And these are just ones that I did. So let's start with An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, if I can actually speak. I have been wanting to read this book for almost 2 years, if not longer. Holy crap, I'm reading it in January. Okay. That's roll number 1, I guess. So the first pick was a chance, which took completely my control away, and I ended up with An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. And this essentially, I'm going to say, what I know essentially, we are in kind of a ancient Rome inspired world where I follow Laia, I think is how it's pronounced, who essentially has to like go into this military school for the like rebellion and things like that. I don't know anything about this. I am very excited to read it though, as I've been meaning to read it for well over a year. So roll number 2 is 9. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I will rotate the board, but that is continue a series. So read a book in a series that I've already started. So like book 2 in a series or book 3 in a series. You get the gist. For number 2 was continue a series, and I'm going to be finishing off the Green Creek series by T.J. Klune by reading Brothersong, which is the 4th and final book. Essentially, the Green Creek series, we follow the Bennett Pack, and the Bennett Pack are like a pack of werewolves. Well, eventually humans get thrown in there as well, and it's a queer series, as I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, every single character we follow as a point of view is queer. And yeah, it's like just a really fun series, and I'm very excited to finish off this series because I've loved the first 2 books. I'm literally going to be starting the 3rd book tonight, and then I'll be reading the 4th book in January. Roll number 3 is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So humans, so a book that features humans, whether that be something like a contemporary or like a fantasy that contains humans or something like that. For 3, humans, I am going to be reading Unholy Terrors by C.M. Stunich, which is a dark reverse harem. It's the 2nd book in the Scarlet Force series, and I'm not really going to explain much about this, but again, it's like a dark reverse harem. We have Scarlet, who is kind of like the queen bitch at Prescott High. I couldn't remember the school there for a second. And it's literally just her and like some guys and dealing with their whole dynamic. I read the 1st book in December, loved it, and Unholy Terrors comes out on the 20th, I believe. So I'll be reading that as soon as it hits Kindle Unlimited. This is roll number 4. And we're up to 8. Okay, but we are at 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A hyped book. For Hyped, I will be reading Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I do hope to get a physical copy and read it, but for now I'll just pop up the cover. And this is the first book in the Throne of Glass series. It is one of the most known series out there, like in the fantasy genre. Essentially we follow Celaena Sardathian as she ends up, she was put into this prison and now she is being let free to become the prince's assassin for this like assassin competition. Essentially the king of Adarlan is wanting to find his assassin, like a king's assassin, and she ends up entering this competition under Prince Dorian's like jurisdiction almost, and the series moves on very much from there. This is a reread for me. I read it in 2020, like it was the first book I read in 2020, so I'm kind of joking, should it be my first read of 2022? But I'm very excited to be rereading this because I am reading it with some wonderful people on Instagram as part of a buddy read. These are also the same people that I'm buddy reading Brothersong with. So if you're watching this, hi, you know who you are. Roll number 5 out of 8 now, and the board is slowly sliding off the blanket. That is 8. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Randomize your TBR. I have to randomize my TBR, and whatever book shows up, like I'll put the number to a number will correlate to a book. I'll go on Goodreads and find out what number that book correlates to. Okay, so here's how I'm going to show you what I picked is, so first the 2 we read, it says 433, but this is 435, so we're going to go with 435. I will plug that into here. 435. Generate. Fuck. Can I not just flip it? There. So flipping. So we got number 12. Number 12 is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Lani Taylor, which is the 3rd book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. So we'll read the first book in this series, which is Daughter of Smoke and Bone. For randomize my TBR, as you saw, I got technically the 3rd book in this series, but the one that I am going to be reading is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lani Taylor, and all I know about this is that we are following a character named Carew, and there's like, I actually have no idea what this is about. I'm quickly going to Google it. Okay, and Goodreads doesn't help me. I've heard amazing things about this. It's like set in Prague. It's essentially, I think there's like these like, almost like these different realms that demons can come out of or something like that. I want to go in knowing nothing. This isn't a book that I wanted to pick up in January, but I am really excited to read it. So I obviously will be reading it. Number 6 out of 8, and that doesn't want to stay there. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. TBR game. So I will play somebody else's TBR game, and yeah. Okay, so this is going to look a little weird. I'm in a weird position trying to empty the cards out of this package because I am playing Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin's TBR game, and the cards just fell. So essentially how this works is Gavin played a game called How to Play Your TBR Right, where he used cards, and I'll explain it as I go because I do not want this clip to be forever, because I just have a feeling that this clip is going to be like 10 minutes long if I don't do it as I talk. So essentially I put cards up on the row here, 5 cards, and I have to guess whether the next card is higher or lower. If it's high, and then if I guess it correctly, I can guess the next one. If I don't, I lose. I get a 1 swap, which if I need to use a swap, I'll explain it, which essentially means I swap the card that's there for one that's in the deck that I do not know. And so first I'll lay out the cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll move the cup out of the way. 5. That one I'm scared is going to fall over. 5. So, the 2 books I'm going up against, because you put a book that you don't want to read and then a book you want to read. I'll also move this out of the way so I can put the book. The book that I don't want to read is Feirce Like a Firestorm by Lana Popovic. This is the sequel to Wicked Like a Wildfire, where essentially we have 2 sisters, one that can turn something into fractals and the other one that can do something to do with music, memories into music, something like that. I don't remember. I read the first book in October of 2021 and I don't remember crap from it, so like that's why I don't want to read this, because I feel like I won't remember a lot of it. Although I do really want to continue the series because this is the final book because it's only duology. So put that there. And the other book, let's move it so you can see. The other book is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Essentially we follow Clare, who finds out she's a shadow hunter. Shadow hunters are humans with angel abilities, and that's all I'll say. And there's like demons, werewolves, vampires in this world, and I need to read this for a read-along, so that's why I'm putting it, because I'm like doing a read-along with this, so yeah. So I flipped the first one over, which is a 6. Oh, I do not like that. So then I have to guess if this card here is higher or lower. I'm going to guess it is higher. So let's just see. Well, that didn't last long. 2. So I guess the book on my TBR is Feirce Like a Firestorm by Lana Popovic. And either way I have to read City of Bones because it's for a read-along. So that means I have these 2 books, but this one is the one that's actually on my TBR, and I'm making it a rule where I have to read this book before I can read this book. Because that's what Gavin used to do, is if you lost a book but then you wanted to read the winning book, you had to read the losing book before the winning book. So that's what I'll be doing. So for TBR game, as you saw, I ended up with Feirce Like a Firestorm by Lana Popovic. I've already explained it, so yeah. So now we have roll number 7 out of 8, which is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Start a new series. For Start a New Series, I'm going to be reading Ice Planet Barbarians by Dixon, and this I'm reading because it is a buddy read with most of the same people I'm reading Brothersong and Throne of Glass with. I kind of got convinced to join this book club for like reading smutty books, and I was like, you know what, sure. And this essentially, literally all I know is there is a group of women on a spaceship that crash lands on this icy planet, and it is a smutty book. It's like under 200 pages. It's literally all I know. I've heard that it's good, but like you have to suspend disbelief to believe it, and like that's what I'm here to do. Like, I am just excited to read it because of the hype on like Book Talk and BookTube and Hiccups. So yeah. And the final roll, unless I get another double, is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is gods. So anything like Greek myths with the gods, or anything that has like gods as lore or anything like that. Even something like angels or anything kind of like that. And then for gods, I am reading Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I'm reading this for the Recreate Books book club, as well as I'm doing a buddy read with a few people on Discord of this. But Lore, essentially every few years, I think it's like every 5 years or every 7 years, something like that, every 10 years, there is this like competition between the gods, and then like the gods end up turning human if they lose or something like that. I literally know nothing about this book. I do not want to know anything about this book, but I'm very, very, very excited to read this, and I'm pretty sure my library has a copy of it, so I'm probably going to grab it physically to read, but I'm unsure of that. A lot of these books I'm reading ebook, or probably we'll see if my library has them. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this. So those were my Bookopoly picks. But what if I told you there is multiple other books on this list that I need, like multiple other books that I need to read? So I've already mentioned that, and that is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, because I'm joining the By the Angel Along, hosted by Becca from the Becca Fowl. This is a reread for me. This will be my third time reading the series. I probably already mentioned that in the other clip, but yeah. Then I also need to read Blade of Ash by C.F.E. Black, and that is a young adult fantasy where we have Prince Red, who ends up needing to try to figure out something to do with like his father's potential murderer, and then we also follow Allie, who is like a sorceress or something like that. I don't remember much. This is an arc that I got through the author, so I need to review it before the 25th when it comes out. Then I also need to read The Temperature of Me and You by Brian Zepka, and this is a YA contemporary slash maybe a little bit of magical realism slash like fantasy, where essentially we have Dylan, who meets this boy named Jordan, and Jordan runs at an exceptionally high like body heat level, and then randomly Dylan ends up starting breathing fire. And that's all I remember from the description, and I'm like, okay, why are you breathing fire? So this is, I have an arc through Neck Alley, and it comes out on the 25th. So I also would like to read it before release date so I can have that review up and done. Then there's also Electric Idol by Katie Robert, the second book in the Dark Olympus series, and I just really like Neon Gods, so I'd love to read Electric Idol when it comes out. It is a Eros and Psyche retelling. It's smutty. It's like the trope of like, I was sent to kill you, but I'm gonna actually marry you, or something like that. And I just really want to read it. If I can't read it in January, I won't, but I figured just mention it because I probably will read it in general. Then we have Secrets We Hunt by Dana Isley, and this is like a, we have Wes, who ends up in Italy, and he ends up running into a girl from his past, and they have like a one-night stand or something. It's book 2 in the One Night series. I will literally read anything by Dana Isley. So of course I'm going to be reading this the second it comes out, and I think it comes out on the 8th. So like that's what I'll be reading then. Then we have All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. This is a book I'm borrowing from my library, and it's due on the 7th. So I have to read it before it's due, or else, well, I lose my physical copy that I want to read. This essentially, there is this, like every generation, there's this competition between these families that the winning family gets control over like the important magic, but there has been this book that has been published that shares the family secrets. And so the competition is a lot different than the past. And I really like Amanda Foody's Shadow Game series and The Accidental Apprentice. So I'm very excited to read it, and I've yet to read anything by Christine Lynn Herman. And then I also need to read Trick 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas. This is a reread. I am buddy reading this with 2 people, I think, on Discord. I think it's at 2 people right now, and we're reading it from the 1st through the 6th, was it? 1st through the 7th, something like that. And this essentially is, it is a sapphic new adult story where we have Liv and Clay, who are like enemies, but then they end up hooking up, and it's just like really good. I loved it so much, so I'm glad to be rereading it. When one of the people on Discord that I'm reading it with was like, hey, anybody want to buddy read this? I was like, I will buddy read it with you, like hands down. And actually, fun fact, that buddy read has now turned into a little friendship on Discord that I'm so happy. So if you're watching this, you know exactly who you are, and I appreciate you so much. So those are the books I need to read, and then I also am taking a part in TBR Knockout, which was created by Completely Melanie, so I'll leave that original video linked down below. I will also leave the By the Angel Along announcement below, and I think that's all I need to link below. Also, all these books will be linked below as well. But for the theme of January is New Year. And essentially, so there's 2 prompts. You have to have 2 different books. And I've already talked about the books that I'm talking about this, so I will just briefly mention it. So, book I meant to read last year was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I've been meaning to read it since 2019 when I added it to my TBR. but I just never have, and I'm so happy that I'm going to be reading it. And then first book in a series, Ice Planet Barbarians by Dixon, because it is the first book in like a 22 book series. Like, I highly doubt I'm reading all 22 books, like, ever. But still, it's the first in the series. And then, also, I'm taking a part in the New Beginnings Readathon, which I will leave that linked up down below. It's hosted by Zach and Casey from Books and Bops, and essentially you're split into 2 teams. I'm on Team Casey, which is the winning team. I'm putting it out there. So aka Zach, if you're watching this, you're the loser. I feel weird to say that. Whoever wins, wins. But essentially there are some prompts, and I'll just go through the prompts and then list a couple books that might fit each type thing. So complete a buddy read with a new friend, Tryst 6 Venom. I'm reading with people I've never buddy read before, and lore I'm reading with people I've never read with before. Read a new release within the last year, Electric Idol, Blade of Ash, The Temperature Between Me and You, Secrets We Hunt, Unholy Terrors, All of Us Villains. Those could all count. Read a book from a new to you series, All of Us Villains, An Ember in the Ashes, Daughter of Smoke and Bone. There's probably more. You can only use 1 book per prompt. So like, if I pick An Ember in the Ashes for new series, I can't use it by an author you ever read before. And you're supposed to do it with the most points, so I will figure this all out, and I'll probably update you on that as I read the books each week type thing on my vlog. Read a book you got for the holidays or about yourself. I don't have any of those on my TBR. Successfully read 2022 pages. I will probably do that within the first week, honestly. Read a book you were anticipating but didn't get to in 2021. Multiple books work. Your team reads at least 22 books. I'll probably personally read at least 22 books in all honesty. Read a book from a genre you've never read before. I have none on this list, and I won't be reading any from genres I haven't read. Or read a book by an author you've never read before. Christine Lynn Herman, Lonnie Taylor, Sabaa Tahir, C.F.E, Brian Zepka. There's probably more that I'll end up reading. So those are just some examples. I just wanted to mention that. I think the sign up for the Readathon is closed, but Zach and Casey have said that they will probably do future rounds of this. So like, keep an eye out on their channel, I guess, for that. So yeah, but I really hope you enjoyed this video, even though it is so long. I apologize for that. I will try to cut it down as short as possible, but it's probably going to be at least half an hour. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what books you're reading in January, or if you've read any of these, or if you plan on reading of any of these, or even which ones of these books you've never heard of. I'd love to hear that in the comments below. And at this point, I'm rambling, so bye!